I'm Andy Marnock, and I'll be covering the ongoing water crisis in the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is a Palestinian territory that borders Israel and Egypt. It has a population of 1.8 million people in a strip of land 25 miles long and 3.5 to 7.5 miles wide. This area is roughly the size of Detroit, but with a population density that's more than 2.5 times larger. The Gaza Strip faces many challenges from its high total fertility rate and incredibly young age structure, with 44.1% of the population under 14 years old, resulting in a high youth dependency ratio of 70.5. The Gaza Strip and other Palestinian territories have had a complicated and storied history, with numerous conflicts and land disputes with Israel. In 2005, Israel withdrew Israeli settlers and ended the military occupation that had lasted since 1967. In 2006, the militant group Hamas was elected to the government and seized control of the rest of Gaza's government and military after they failed to form a united government with Fatah, the group that now governs the West Bank. Due to conflicts between the newly elected government and Israel and Egypt, both countries imposed a blockade on the Gaza Strip in 2007. Due to ongoing conflicts between Hamas and Israel, this blockade has remained in effect, and many claim that it is effectively an occupation as imports and exports are severely limited along with major travel restrictions. Gazans have long struggled with water access, but in recent years the problem has reached a critical point. 97% of drinking wells have been deemed unsafe due to the over-extraction of the local aquifer, which Gazans only have access to 2% of. This over-extraction has led to salt water from the Mediterranean contaminating the groundwater. Additionally, untreated sewage and runoff from local farms adds to this contamination. Faced with this widespread contamination, Gazans have been forced to turn to other sources for water. As this chart shows, water trucks accounted for nearly 85% of drinking water for Gazan households, an increase from 68% only 3 years earlier. The vast majority of water supplied by these trucks and at public filling points is produced by desalinating seawater, but much of that water still isn't considered safe. Less than one-third of the desalination plants that supply the Gaza Strip are regulated, and while the desalination process removes salt from the water, it can't remove contaminants without additional processing. Even when done correctly, desalination is also incredibly energy intensive, and in the wake of the 2014 conflict with Israel, lasting damage to the power infrastructure has resulted in Gazans only having access to power for about 4 hours a day. This means that these desalination plants are only operating at 15% of their capacity. To make matters worse, many Gazans rely on storage tanks due to the scarcity of water, and after about 10 days, E. coli can infiltrate these tanks. The illnesses resulting from E. coli have been linked to stunted growth and lower IQ in Gazan children. These waterborne illnesses account for more than a quarter of all childhood illnesses in Gaza and 12% of their deaths. The stunted growth and lower IQs found in many children today may have tremendous implications as the large youth population ages. This problem will be made worse as the population is projected by the United Nations to reach 3.1 million by 2030 and 4.7 million by 2050. Due to the economic strains resulting primarily from the blockade, Gazans face an unemployment rate of 27.9%, 46.9% among those 15 to 24 years old. This contributes to many Gazans having to devote up to a third of their income on water alone. Due to the continuous conflict between Hamas and Israel, most solutions are difficult to implement. Israel's wide-ranging blockade limits the import of materials that the Israeli government considers dual use, capable of supporting both civilian and military efforts. In one project to improve water access, only 16% of supplies were approved to enter the Gaza Strip. With existing infrastructure, increasing power supply is critical, but agreements between Hamas and Israel or Egypt often stall. One thing that can be done is educating the populace on water purification that can be done at home, as a study found that 94% of Gazans didn't purify water from unsanitary sources. Without peace in the foreseeable future, a likely scenario, the water crisis in Gaza could very well get even worse.